Their number one tip was don't anchor in Japan, and they give two very good reasons why not to. Hey, Lowell here, Pacific Solo in the Never Too Late Academy. I'm currently on my 14th day of haul out. I hope to splash tomorrow. It's actually my second haul out in 14 days. I'll tell more about that in another video. I'm prepping to sail the length of Japan next year, following the cherry blossom front as it proceeds up Japan and all the parties with it. But just before my haul out, my friends Scott and Mia also hauled out their 54-foot Amel just before they were leaving Japan after cruising here for 6 months. I caught them on the day of their departure and asked them what were their tips to incoming cruisers who wanted to cruise Japan. Their number one tip was don't anchor in Japan, and they give two very good reasons why not to.
So I'm Scott from California, and
I'm Mia from Denmark.
we started our sail about 7 years ago from the Med. Now we're at the end of our time in Japan, about to head back down to the Philippines. The boat is named Tengah, and people do ask about that, especially in Japan, because apparently that is a sex toy. But it turns out what it is that my family escaped from Vietnam a few decades ago. When we escaped by boat, ended up on an island off the coast of Malaysia called Pulau Tengah. So since I got a boat, I felt it quite fitting to name it after that island. I mean, I think the big thing for us is that Japan in always is so different than other places. We spent 4 years crossing the Pacific, beautiful anchorages, beautiful, you're there. There's not a lot of places like in the Tuamotus in French Polynesia, there's not that much on land. Everything's about the water, everything's about the anchorage, everything is about the beauty of the place. Here, the nature can be beautiful, but the real reason you come to Japan is for the people and the food, and the culture. And for us, the big change was abandoning anchoring. We were told that at the first place that we went to on the mainland. A Japanese sailor who'd been abroad came up and told us, he said, look, I know you like to anchor, but we don't do that in Japan. And I was like, okay, yeah, well, we do. And the important thing about his message was that it's actually dangerous, because when nobody does it, nobody looks for it. From that point on, we tried not to anchor. We had to anchor a couple times because the port was full or something like that. But when we did that, we lit up the boat like a Christmas tree, deck lights, cockpit lights, everything. But I don't really see that as an inconvenience, even though you can see the fender later if you want to get a shot of that. But it's a pain to tie up in the fishing ports, but really that's where the magic happens. That's where you get to go walk off, go find the restaurants that a Japanese person has recommended to you, where Japanese people come up to you and practice their omotenashi, where it's their wholehearted welcomeness. People will come, we showed up in Fukuoka, within 5 minutes we weren't even done tying up, right? And they came and brought us gifts, and then invited us. They set up a table right next to the boat, brought food, brought drinks, and that sort of thing just happens again and again. And I think you can only, actually I know you can't experience that on anchor, because they're not going to row out to you.
So that's what's tip number is that? I would say tip number 1, because don't come with your boat polished and clean.
Oh yeah, that too.
Do that at the end.
Yes.
Because when you're tying up to these fishing ports, they're quite dirty.
Yes.
And your boat will get some scratches and damages for that. So just prepare it at the end of your trip in Japan. It's well worth it to go in there to get the experiences that Scott said. I think tip number 2 that we talked about is when you ask for something, or you ask for help, or you deal with vendors or people, they will actually do what they say they are going to do. And as cruisers in the South Pacific, where a lot of people come from, we are not used to that. So here you really have to trust people because they trust each other, and you can't be suspicious of what they're saying to you because it will actually happen. So you really need to have that respect in mind when you go here.
Yeah, I mean, you have to just assume that they are trustworthy people. I mean, and they do the same to you. This is our first time at a marina and a boatyard where two things have happened that shocked us. Number one is that we splashed the day we were going to splash because the contractor, even though he was delayed by rain, decided to work on he worked on the weekend to make sure that we were able to hit our schedule for splashing. This has not happened in 7 years that we splashed on the day we said we would. And the second thing is every other boatyard we've been to outside of Japan has a sign that says no splash, no cash, no splash. And we splashed about a week ago, and they still haven't even bothered to get the invoice ready yet because they're like, yeah, of course you're going to pay. You're not going to leave. And in other countries, I guess some cruisers have behaved badly, and there's not that trust. Whereas here, there is just that trust, and there's it's amazing. I think I'm thinking we need to toughen up before we leave Japan because we're leaving soon, and we have this attitude where I'll just leave my phone and wallet on the table and go to the toilet. It's no big deal. Nobody's going to take it, which is the truth here. But clearly, that's not the truth in other places.
And I think tip number 3 is that ratings on for restaurants here, they will give a good rating is 3, and so averages on Google will often be 3.5 or something like that, and you think it's a bad place, but it's not. They are just. We even read a review where it's like everything was perfect.
Food was amazing, service was amazing, ambiance was amazing, but everything can be improved. 3 out of 5.
So when you read the reviews, try and find the ones left by Japanese. They will give a very honest review and go from there. And honestly, most food here is good. So just we found in the beginning we were trying to find the best restaurants, but in the end, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah,
most food here is good.
Another thing too is I would say. Japan seems intimidating because of the language issues and the bureaucracy and all of that. But actually, in retrospect, we found the Med to be more challenging. We had issues in Greece. We had issues in Montenegro. We had issues in other countries that you would consider easy first world countries. Because in Japan, I think people just want to help. And with all the machine translation stuff nowadays, I mean, you have to use that. It's so easy to order at restaurants. It's so easy to get things done via email. And also, one thing to keep in mind is, the bureaucracy can be grinding, but the advantage of Japan is that there's very little to no corruption. So my take is the officials are just trying to protect their jobs and not get caught doing something wrong. So they make you do more paperwork and all that. Whereas in other places, they'll be difficult because they're hoping that you're going to pay a bribe to get out of it. And that does not exist here. You just have to keep in mind that the helpfulness that you get from the regular Japanese person is the same thing that you'll get from an official, except they're just trying to protect their job from the big bad boss that's going to come down hard on them if they don't have all the paperwork in order. So,
if we go to sailing tips as well, I think get the Naiko-sen.
Yes. So all the documentation, the Naiko-sen, the blanket clothes port permit, those are absolutely crucial. I'm actually going to try to write a document, I think I told you about this little, just summarizing my experiences and the tips and things that we experience spending 6 months here in Japan on our own. And hopefully I can remember all the different documents that I needed to get, just tips to deal with the bureaucracy. But afterwards, Greece was far more difficult. A lot of places that we went to were far more difficult than Japan. Philippines, I would say, was more difficult than Japan. Yeah, definitely. Philippines, definitely more difficult than Japan.
I've got to go splash. Is there any last word?
Don't be scared. Come to Japan. I mean, it's one of our favorite destinations. Totally different than any other place that we've been. But if you just come in with an open mind as it relates to the food, the culture, the fishing ports, it will just amaze you. And we're leaving probably tomorrow, and frankly, we probably should have left last week, but I figured we should just delay it and have a couple more meals and enjoy Japan a little bit more. But yeah, just come. I mean, it's great.
Show your t-shirt. And your cap. Matching colors.
All right.
And now fan shot for the laundry. And for everybody. It's an Amel 54.
All right, sorry.
Pristine.
Is it raining?
It's starting to spit. Your clothes are waving goodbye. Hey, come back to Japan.
I'm back to
You'll come back to Japan, yes. Please come home. Sail on Wahine next.